give a call to the honourable member for Wentworth.
My question is for the Treasurer. E61 research has shown that young, innovative firms drive productivity, yet Australia's early-stage investment per capita is roughly a third of the US and a bit over half the UK's. And I'm concerned we aren't going to close this gap. We know that large super funds have actually halved their allocation to venture capital over the last 10 years, and the taxation of unrealised gains is going to make it harder for those investments from super. So how will the government drive private capital towards the most innovative businesses that can drive Australia's next productivity boom?
Call to the Treasurer.
Thanks very much, Mr Speaker, and thanks to the member for Wentworth for her question and for her interest, and also for the earlier opportunities to talk about some of these really important issues. I'll go to the specific first and then the general. When it comes to the superannuation changes before the Parliament, before the Senate, these are all about making sure that there are still generous tax concessions for people in the superannuation system, but slightly less generous for people with the biggest balances. The honourable member knows that, and we've discussed it at length in this parliament as well. As part of a lot of consultation that we've done over quite a long period now when it comes to the superannuation tax concessions, and I salute the Assistant Treasurer for his work on this as well. One of the things that we have discovered and one of the things that we understand is that the categories that measure venture capital in superannuation, there is only a very, very small sliver of venture capital in self-managed super funds. For example, if you think about the most recent comparison, a couple of years old now, listed assets are about 30%, but the sorts of categories that VC gets captured in is about 3%. And so a tiny sliver. And I think, in fairness to the honourable member, she also acknowledged in her question that the challenge of VC funding and capital flows when it comes to VC, and the industry minister has raised this in different ways in our forums as well, that's been a longer-term challenge and a longer-term trend which is completely unrelated to the changes that we are proposing to super. But it is a challenge. It is a challenge. And I acknowledge the concerns that the member raises and that others have raised about VC. One of the reasons why, when we first came to office, amongst all of the opportunities you have to put together different groups to help advise us externally on government policy, one of the most important things we did is we put together the Treasurer's Investor Roundtable. And that is all about trying to grapple with some of these challenges we have with capital flows in our economy. You know, our Future Made in Australia agenda, our agenda around superannuation, what we're trying to do in housing and the clean energy transformation and some of the other big beneficial shifts in our economy. A lot of what we're trying to do is about trying to get those capital flows right. But for some of these especially difficult challenges, the Investor Roundtable, which brings together trillions of dollars of capital around a table to advise us on how we nut out and grapple with and solve some of these issues, that's been a really important forum. Not because we have fixed every issue that the honourable member rightly raises, but because we know that we give ourselves a much better chance of addressing those issues if we work together with people inside and outside the parliament. And in that regard, I welcome and encourage the great work of E61.
We call to the member for Lingiari.